have an excellent Roadhog. We see that role actually shift around quite often. Titawa as well has a really good look on some of those tanks, but a little bit more questionable on others. Winston, definitely one of his favorites, as we see things open up here on Nepal Shrine. Uprising Academy running that Winston Sombra Goats look with Scalar on the Moira, a hero that's become more and more popular as Sombra has become more and more par of the course. And Square One, we're just talking about Jolf's Orise is going to trot it out right away for Square One here on Shrine, which is a little bit unusual. Usually we like to see a lot of the teams prefer to run slightly more mobile composition, but you got Big Al rather, Dove and Hot Day all on very mobile DPS heroes, so they're going to be looking to run a bit of interference and hopefully keep Jolf alive, but that's not going to happen.
Well, Cloud's having a hard time staying alive at 2, but a nice sleep on the Titawa is going to delay the departure of the train just a little bit, but Uprising Academy are able to push Square One down. They take the first cap very quickly. Usually those fights have been going on much longer.
Very brawly stuff, but Uprising Academy really biding their time. They didn't just all in on the point. They looked for the best possible engagement. That's actually going to signal the comp change for Square One onto their more usual Reinhardt Sombra look, but Dove and Mirror hanging toe-to-toe in terms of that EMP charge. So if Square One, despite losing that point first, if they can get EMP first and get the drop on Uprising Academy, it's not over for them.
The hack goes through. Now it's time to build up that EMP, but right now Mirror is developing it much faster than a Dove. The EMP should be coming out of Uprising Academy just a little sooner, but sometimes that follow-up EMP can be more impactful. Uprising Academy now coming up on their ultimate. Scalar going to go ahead and use Coalescence. He's going to be doing some good damage, but it's going to be canceled by the EMP coming in from Dove. Huge value out of Dove for Square One, as Uprising Academy are going to fall on the point, feed a ton of ultimate charge to Square One as we do come into a pause. Our first big engage there was Dove's EMP. Even though he developed it second, the value was there. I think Uprising Academy were expecting to find themselves a little bit more of a footing on the objective, but when the Coalescence gets canceled by the EMP and 4 other members get hacked, someone else gets stunned, it's going to be very hard to win that point.
Yeah, it seemed that Uprising Academy maybe expected there to be a bit more runway, but Square One just stuck their foot out, tripped them right up. Mirror actually translocated into the middle of Square One, and I thought that he was going to drop the EMP, but Coalescence was going on at the same time, so maybe Uprising Academy were kind of trying to hedge their bets and be like, oh, well, we'll just save EMP for the next one, but surprise, Square One's like, we can't afford to hesitate anymore. We're just going. And what do you know? Catches 5 people, and Trispear actually got a sleep kill onto Titawa, which is something you don't see every day.
Well, Mirror seems to have a little bit of an internet issue coming into this next round, which really stinks because now
that might
he's
explain that weird EMP.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he was planning to use that EMP, but disconnect. That's the only time you disconnect is during those really important moments. When you press shift to charge as Reinhardt, you disconnect. TC. You throw the bomb, you disconnect, right? That's just how it goes sometimes. But let's talk a little bit more about these two teams and why this game is so important for both, because I think Square One has had a just rough season in general. A couple weeks ago against Atlanta Academy, their coach was going to play and then they were able to find a sub. It was just like a really rough experience and something that kind of defined their season at the time. And the very next week, they got a victory over Sky Foxes, and then phase 2, that 5-game set. What we said in like week 3 or 4 was Square One needed to learn that they could win. Right, that they had the ability, and then they beat Sky Foxes. What a great way to bring that confidence back, and they've already been playing better. The teamwork is better for Square One. The unfortunate thing for them is, and my question to you is it too little too late?
At this point of the season, it might be. You only have one more week, right? And that's just so unfortunate at that they were forced to take that loss in like week 3 or 4 due to connection issues. So that's just something that not only harms your record, of course, as a team, but also that mental, because, you're like, it wasn't even my fault, man.
Just
right?
The singular mental.
The single mental. I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience. I only got one mental to go around. But yeah, true. So it's really hard to bounce back from that. But that win against Sky Foxes definitely helped. But at that point, half the season's already over.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of the really hard thing is like, at what point is it too much to try and pick up those pieces? But the good news is, though, that doesn't really say anything about the actual caliber of talent from square one, right? This is all just factors out of their control.
Well, the good news for them too is Legion have not been playing well over the last 3 weeks either, and have given square one a potential opportunity to overtake them next week. So that's a really, really big deal. The biggest deal, though, for square one, this is bad news for them, is Gladiators Legion and square one played each other in week 1. And Gladiators Legion already took those maps off of square one. They did take the victory. So square one will have to find those maps somewhere else, because if Gladiators Legion might get relegated, it's most likely going to be in a map win-loss differential type of situation.
Likely,
and square one is coming back where Gladiators Legion are losing the advantage. So I'd rather be Legion in this situation, but it's still not over. If you're a square one fan, it could totally still happen.
It can totally still happen. And regardless of what goes on today, hopefully, of course, square one is hoping for that win. But next week, they're going to be facing Bermuda for their last match. So Bermuda, the one team that has been struggling more consistently than square one. So it's possible for them to take that win off of Bermuda. Then we have to take a look at those maps. So there's, the gif of like Zach Galifianakis and all the numbers and everything. We're going to have to take a look at those later, but it's definitely not over.
Cool. Well, now we're still trying to find a way back onto the internet. We had a little bit of an issue there today. Our neighborhood internet fell apart there for a while, but we were able to get it going. So hopefully he will too. But on the other side of the equation, we've got Uprising Academy, a team that arguably had some low expectations. They had high expectations on themselves, but we as the audience
historically,
and people picking these games, Uprising Academy have struggled here in Contenders historically, but this time around they're actually being pretty consistent. So in the whole grand scheme of things, if you're taking both groups and you're tiering them up, right? There's that S tier, there's that A tier. Where would you put Uprising Academy right now in terms of Contenders in general?
That is a good question. I would say very B+. We'll put it there. But Uprising Academy can obviously change our minds. They have lost this fight. Mirror is back with us. Unfortunately, has given up all of that ultimate charge. Square one taking a very good fight. And this is what's most heartening for all Square One fans, is that Uprising Academy didn't just lose that fight. Square One took it. Now they're going to have those tools. Graviton Surge up, Rally as well. This is what you want to get into when you're running that Sombra. You start chaining those ultimates using the EMP as a stopgap.
They're using those tools, and they're using some of this. Uprising Academy is Peter Walker to throw those Misty, kind of trying to get those environmental kills. It's so close to them, but no real estate has been taken away from Square One. They all survive the Primal Rage, and now the other ults are coming through. Down barrier now for Square One. Jolt is the stun, but this is still pretty good news for Square One, as they are able to repel Uprising Academy for the time being on the objective. This is all just progress for them, as Square One take that mana advantage. They're still going to maintain it. It's a 5v4 right now, so Uprising Academy are going to continue coming from behind. Mirror, though, look at how quickly he's developed that Graviton Surge. He's Dusty Seed and is already at 91% in about a fight and a half, because this has been a little bit extended. But Uprising Academy already getting passed up by Square One on terms of percentage.
Yeah, Mirror definitely doing amazingly, and Uprising Academy actually going to keep trying to press that advantage. Counter grab from Hot Day, not going to be doing much. Everybody on Uprising Academy very weak, but still alive, and that's what's most important here. You gotta go for that clean sweep. And I was actually going to say, Scalar throwing that nano onto Mirror definitely helped him get up towards that grab, but that was a big investment when you had already lost not only the fight, but also many of those team members. So Uprising Academy really able to come from behind and bring it back.
Well, speaking of big investments, Dub now on the Zarya, was on the Sombra, used the EMP to try to bring that fight back for them, but they had already lost a member, and now they don't have it for this late game stage, which is so big for those EMPs, and now you're resetting everything. Dub is probably not going to get to a Graviton Surge in that time unless he really pushes in that damage, but Angelic is low, so he's going to have to take a little bit of space. Uprising Academy now using that self-destruct. Punk's been really good about these, and he does get a pick. Dub going down, so Uprising Academy should be locking up this round if they clean up the point, which has been a huge issue for them throughout the season. It's been kind of defining for them, as they let these overtimes extend for so long, even with a multi-man advantage. They gotta clean it up. Punk trying his best. Titawa doing the same. It's looking good for Uprising Academy so far.
Yep, and bar a miracle, Uprising Academy will take this round on Shrine. Angelic, hey, sometimes you just want to feel the music. Only catches themselves, so Uprising Academy are going to, repeat a little bit of history, take a little bit of time to clean up those last staggers, but they do so. And Square One going to go back to Square One in terms of capturing control.
And so they fall. They go down 0-1 to Uprising Academy. Even with the disconnect from Mirror, the way he developed that Graviton Surge was super quick. And Mirror is pretty well known for his Zarya, so you should almost expect it at that point in time. I think if Square One doesn't EMP there, maybe they're already thinking about switching, but if Square One has EMP for that fight after the grab from Mirror, it might be a little different right now.
Yeah, that counter grab also from Dove was just a really big investment when you have to look at the next fight. It's not always about just winning what's right in front of you. You could always come back in and get an even better one once Uprising Academy is drained of their own ultimates. But hopefully Square One going to take those lessons as we head to Village. Hot date on the May here, so it's going to be all about finding value from those walls very early on, and Square One have set up shop on the point, and Uprising Academy going to have to once again seed that space early and then look for that incision as they rotate around.
The first time I ever casted Scalar was on that Moira, and he got play of the game that game too, and it's really exciting to potentially see him on that character. He's going to go ahead and switch over to the Zenyatta. Somber Goats is going to be what Uprising Academy is running, but on the other side of things, you got Hot Date on May, Tri-Sphere on that Moira. Very interesting looking comp coming in here. A Hot Date on the May, particularly here on Village, can be very effective, and you're seeing it right now. It's going to block Scalar and Clouds from helping his team, and that means Teenwatt's going to be very vulnerable, and he's going to go down. So beautiful wall coming in from Hot Day, and look at that too. You don't really see the Maze leading the charge in terms of ultimate charge, but here we are. Hot Day should be the first to an ultimate.
Tri-Sphere very close as well with that coalescence as Uprising Academy. They decided to swap Titawa onto the Reinhardt and just force things on the objective, which is definitely one way to play against the Mei. You draw that wall out, then you don't really have to worry about a ton. You can just overcome them with the tanks that you're running. But they decide to keep Mirror on the Sombra, so maybe that had a little bit to do with their early loss there. And at already nearly 50%, they got to pull the trigger sooner rather than later. So Mirror's going to look to set things up. You'd really love to catch Tri-Sphere or Angelic in the back.
Translocate into EMP, we see that very often. 3 members of Square One hack, but no one has fallen just yet. And then nice shatter coming in from Titawa's going to put Hot Date and Diggle onto the ground. Mirror getting 2 more kills. Uprising Academy looking at good. Square One coming in with a ton of resources, though, as Uprising Academy used a lot of them in this fight. It's still not over for Square One.
No, not over yet. A single ultimate could very well wipe the point, or at least flip control. Hot Date can zone all of Uprising Academy away with that Blizzard. We could even see a grab in Blizzard, something like that, as Tri-Sphere swaps onto the Ana. Uprising Academy, though, do have this Transcendence, which can save them from multitude of Square One ultimates. It's all going to depend on if the backline falls early.
Graviton Surge goes through from Dub. There is a Transcendence from Scalar, though, to counter it. Blizzard might delay this a little while longer. Joel's going to get that initial kill onto the Brick. Square One getting a ton of kills now, as they are going to be able to retake the point. And Uprising Academy didn't make a ton of distance up on Square One, and Square One still have ultimates to use.
Exactly. They're going to be able to sustain those long fights if Uprising Academy manage to brawl things out. However, they have EMP grab coming in. Square One used the Blizzard into grab, a big investment, but it won them the fight very quickly, so minimal point percentage for Uprising Academy, who now need to set up another EMP and find cleanup with this grab.
Here has EMP, though, and in this kind of situation, that's the ult that you want. It's all about that following fight, though Mirror's only going to get one. Tri-Sphere, who's still going to be able to get shielded anyway. The Biotic Grenade could have been enough from Uprising Academy, and Teenwatt somehow finds a kill onto Angelic. So Uprising Academy are given, in my opinion, a 6v5. Let's see if they're going to be able to take advantage of that advantage. You got to push it when you have it. And as of right now, Square One are given a little bit of reprieve. Angelic should be back here very soon. And Square One, though, losing a ton of HP as Jolt comes back. Jolt goes back to spawn as Angelic comes right back onto the objective. But it is not going to matter for Uprising Academy. They do end up getting the team wipe onto Square One, but they don't have a lot of ultimates for themselves. And looking on the other side, Square One should be in the advantage for this next fight.
This is exactly the ultimate combo that Square One had when they retook that point from Uprising Academy very quickly. Blizzard into Graviton Surge. And Uprising Academy still with Mirror on this Sombra, so that means that Punk's going to be Zarya knows to eat any of those.
There's a Fire Strike from Teenwatt that ripped through Square One at the beginning of that, but with the Blizzard and all of the resources at Square One's disposal. Uprising Academy do lose out on that fight. They're at a huge disadvantage going into it. No heroics coming from them. Are they even going to be able to touch? Overtime does get triggered thanks to Mirror, who translocates away just in time. So very close to that EMP as well. So actually, Uprising Academy could potentially come back here if they're able to stall it out for Mirror enough for him to get that EMP and then use it and then get some follow-up damage. But you can't get follow-up damage if your team is dead, and the Mei wall is going to block them from the point. As everyone tie this up 1-1 against Uprising Academy here on Nepal. This will be decided on Sanctum.
Great wall from Hot Day. Anytime I try to put those up, I always leave, a gap the size of the Grand Canyon. Everybody just saunters on their point anyways. But in this case, Uprising Academy forced to give up those ultimates, swap over to those desperation picks, and it was all because Square One got so much value from that Mei, and specifically from those blizzards. Mirror just wasn't producing in terms of value from that ultimate. The second EMP he got in that round only caught an Ana. Not necessarily the target that you want to be grabbing in order for your team to roll that fight. So Uprising Academy are going to be playing the vanilla goats here on Sanctum. Titawa is on the Winston, and Square One showing the same. So in this case, it feels like so long ago since we had Mirror Goats, but any early picks, oftentimes from the Zenyatta, is going to give you a major advantage. Or the break stance as Joel getting aggressed upon here. Oh, that health yo-yoing, but he does manage to escape to safety as Uprising Academy going to take purchase on the point first.
Got out of there with 100 HP and way more ult charge than Titawa, who has actually been taken advantage of on the Winston here on Sanctum. He gets booped a lot for a Winston into the drink. Let's see if it's going to happen again, but Titawa is going to hear me and say no, it will not, as Angelic will fall. Punk getting a booster kill on it to Jolf.
Oh, Punk, man, this is like, he is just such a great, you've been punked, exactly. Ashton Kutcher's about to pop out from one of these corners.
What if Punk is Ashton Kutcher?
Oh my god. Never thought of it. What do you know? That's the BlizzCon surprise. Yeah. But Uprising Academy now have plenty of tools, and they're likely not going to be bungling this opportunity. They aggress on Square One, immediately force the Transcendence from Trisphere right away.
I'm intrigued as to what that decision-making was for Trisphere, because Mirror has a grab, and now there's no trance. It should be a white for Uprising Academy. That it is. You probably didn't even need the bomb in that situation. Square One, though, coming back with 3 ultimates. Maybe just wanted to flex on Uprising Academy just a little bit. Lulls them into a false sense of confidence so they can come back and try to take the point. They're going to try to do just that when they engage once more, but they have a little bit more at the disposal because Uprising Academy used those ults to win that fight. Now Square One knows they don't have that good amount of information for them.
Exactly, and if Hot Day drops this bomb first, force the sound barrier, then the grab will likely be free, but Titawa's going to throw some fists into your plan right here.
Graviton Surge, though, is going to lock him right up, and Hot Take going to find a self-destruct kill of his own as Titawa not going to be long for this world. Still 6 members for Square One, just 4 for Uprising Academy. This is all about the stall for UA. If they're able to get 2 members back to the point without flipping it, it will be a full 6v6. Punk doing his darndest to do just that, but a nice pick coming in onto Scalar means that Square One should be locking this up. Uprising Academy stopped at 69%.
Yeah, but they really made Square One work for it. Jolf even popped that Primal Rage just to confirm that they'll capture that point. So Uprising Academy coming back in here, going to be feeling really good about their chances, even though Dove is glowing with the power of 1,000 suns, fully charged up here. He's only 40% to grab, whereas Mirror only 6 seconds away from that. So Uprising Academy can play patiently up until they get Square One in their sights. Or you
go ahead and just take a pick.
Laser Jolt down the good old-fashioned way, and there's no stopping Uprising now. Rally popped here, and Titawa getting the Goomba stuff onto Big All. Angelic even pops the sound barrier here, but for not.
Questionable ult usage coming in from Square One at the tail end of Sanctum here. That's been the story for Square One. They just can't seem to put it together at times, and when they get into these kind of lulls, when they get into the streaky nature of that team, and now we're in a low part of that streak, Square One have had a very hard time trying to take tempo back after they've lost it. So Uprising Academy also have more at their disposal. It should be a win for Uprising Academy, looking at just those ultimates that someone can come up with a pick. Trisphere can get a beautiful volley onto Scalar. We might not even see Transcendence from Uprising Academy, but what story will come true for both of these teams? As Square Square One entered the point. The ally barrier is already going to be used onto Gulp. He's going to try to get into the back line. You're going to try a Kobe. Graviton Surge does not get eaten and grabs almost everyone from Square One. Oh, almost environmental kills. Angelic going to go ahead and drop below the stage to avoid the Diva Bomb. That's a nice little text. Punk going to get the D next, but Striker getting a return pick. Uprising Academy do have more. They're starting to use their advantage. The overshields from the sound barrier should be enough to at least keep them in this fight. Square One putting up a little bit more of a fight than one might have expected, but with the numbers disadvantage, Uprising Academy need to clean it up. But again, this has been an issue for them in the past. Other teams might have already locked up the point. Uprising Academy have had a very hard time with Focus Fire in overtime specifically.
Grab's going to help you focus your fire, though. Mirror coming in with a late fight grab is going to mean Uprising Academy take control in style right there. Titawa getting a ton of value from those primal rages, a big part of why Uprising Academy was able to take Sanctum with such ease. And Square One really just, like you said, Boop, bungling a couple of opportunities with those support ultimates, because while getting a trance in that 300 HPS is no guarantee of a win, it's going to give you some options, right? Dove was very close to the grab late in that Sanctum round, and they just didn't have the option to continue the fight because they didn't have the healing to come up against Uprising's damage.
Yeah, Mirror Zarya was very impactful throughout a lot of this series. The Kobe Graviton Surge from downtown was beautiful.
There is.
In that situation, right, if you're the Diva on the other side, right, you got to try to eat those. There's so much time to turn around and get that defense matrix in. I know easier said than done, but you don't see grabs like that because the percentage of that getting eaten is so much higher than waiting to see the defense matrix go down or getting a little bit more into the mind games up close, baiting the defense matrix. But this time around, Mirror just feeling confident. He ain't going to eat this grab, right? Let's go ahead and just throw it. And oh, by the way, it hits everybody.
I know. It was almost like a double mind game. The quadruple debate. It's as though it's like, who would throw grab from such a distance? Hot Day was probably like, nobody would throw the grab. Who would grab me right now? Mirror does. That's who.
Mirror feeling very confident, and I love seeing that from Uprising Academy. That is not a look that we saw in the first 2 games of this season, all throughout last season and the season before that. As Uprising Academy, if they win, I believe match their total wins for the last 2 seasons of Contenders combined, and that just goes to show how much they've improved throughout, going through Trials. I think Trials was probably the best thing that could have happened to Uprising Academy at that time. They really put it into a new gear and started really taking this seriously, and the fruits of their labor are definitely starting to show.
I definitely agree. Uprising Academy playing very well, and Punk really deserves a shout out as well. We've been lauding a lot of praise on Mirror, talking about Titawa, Scalar, but Punk playing that flex tank, the glue that holds the front line and back line together, equally good on the Zarya and the Diva. And I feel like we see Divas get a ton of kills in all kinds of wacky ways, but Boop kill onto a Winston, still right up there for me.
The best Boop kill we've ever seen was from Bishu. Remember that? Onto another
yes,
Diva?
onto Bernard. Oh
yeah,
my
that
goodness.
Was nuts. Square One need to come. They need to come into these fights with, I think, just a little bit more oomph.
This
right?
same moxie that they showed on Village, right? Hot Day on the May, not a look that they run all the time, but they went in, they had the game plan.
It's the best look.
Blizzard into grab, Blizzard into grab. It works, right?
Yeah, sometimes you just got to go with the drills, right? Just like White Goats was so, entertaining for some and so infuriating for others, was it was like that dance, right? It was very similar every time. You got the grab and then the trans, potentially sound barrier after. If things continue on where 12 ultimates result in no kills, and I understand why that's frustrating, but Square One might feel better in that kind of dance, right? They might have rehearsed for a season of Goats, and I think Gladiators Legion are in the same kind of boat where the the meta did not end up being what I think some of these coaches and players thought it might be. Even I was expecting a little bit more Goats, but we've definitely moved over to the bunker, the double sniper. We're seeing way more frequently than Goats so far, and I think Square One is one of the teams that have had a very hard time adjusting to it. So seeing them with the look on a May is a really good adjustment for them anyway. And going into our Assault map, it could be a good way for them to try to overcome Uprising Academy.
Undoubtedly, Uprising Academy running with their newfound success do slip up at times. Titawa in particular, since we're coming into Assault, has a tendency to die all the time on
He's
Orisa
not consistent.
specifically.
Yeah, he is not a consistent tank player.
His Winston has one of the most accurate butts in all of Overwatch. Like, his Goomba stomps are right there, but his Orisa, for whatever reason, could be Uprising Academy, don't play around him that well. It could just be that his positioning is not 100% there, but he dies constantly on Orisa, which is going to be a big concern for Uprising Academy if they decide to run bunker on Assault. So that's definitely a place for Square One to just wedge their crowbar in and pry them apart.
Would you say he's in Orisa jail at times?
Yes. Oh, these 4 metal legs caging me in.
Well, let's see if it's gonna. We're probably going to see some Orisa on this map. This is one of her most popular. Bunker is one of the most effective team comps on this map, and it's one of the few times that we actually do see Orisa on the offensive side as well. Few for now. It probably will be more prevalent as we go on into the future of Overwatch. And just to remind everyone at home, we are going to be in 2-2-2 roll lock for playoffs this time around. So these Hog Orisa looks could become even more prevalent than they already are going into the playoff patch. But this is Paris. This is where the bunker lives and thrives. We will see some goats at times. We'll see some DPS, but that bunker v bunker is what we see most often here.
And it is one of the reasons why some teams have such a hard time attacking. You like to push. If you like to push with the Orisa, you got to make it out of this very narrow choke. And in fact, Jeff Kaplan was just talking about some potential changes to the Paris map in the future, maybe working around this choke, changing things up, because I believe this is the narrowest choke of all maps in Overwatch. It makes it very difficult.
They just got to make it as big of a space between Sigma's toes, right? And then everyone can just walk in.
Yes, exactly. Look to the toes, my friends. That
look to the toes for that toespiration.
Toespiration, exactly. Because if you're going to be running any kind of long distance damage coming out of this attacking choke, you gotta find those angles first. In Uprising Academy, the defenders are always gonna have the jump on you. Look at that, Klaus. He's like, I'm ready, totally ready. Love Klaus on the Hanzo, one of his best heroes. And Mirror taking to the skies on one of his best heroes, the Pharah.
He was probably the second best Hanzo in South America when he was down there. A player named Leviathan was probably a tad bit better for him, a little bit more consistent, but we're not talking about Leviathan right now. We're talking about Klaus, who has popped off on Hanzo, on Paris, and here he goes with that initial pick. He's going to find First Blood, and Uprising Academy should find this defense as well.
Square One deciding not to go with the Orisa look, which I actually think is a very good idea here. Orisa, not one of Jolf's strongest heroes anyways, and one of the best ways to assault a bunker is simply to close the distance and dive them. Of course, just dive them. Forehead is not always as straightforward as you would hope. There are a lot of ways for Uprising Academy to push them back. Just pumping in straight damage between Mirror and Klaus is one of those ways, since they aren't going to be running with anything like a Torbjorn or a Brigitte to actually CC someone.
Hot Date trying to aggressive on Uprising Academy, trying to force that rotation, but Uprising Academy know what they're doing is Klaus going to find the Sombra once again. This is going to keep them from developing any sort of EMP charge. Even though Mirror is on the ground and some members of Uprising Academy are low, they're so much better off in terms of ultimate charge that if they do lose a member, they're going to have that comeback mechanic in their back pocket.
Exactly, not just comeback mechanic, but tons of ultimates as well. As Square One decided to invest the Nano onto Jolf just to see if they could maybe take Uprising Academy out of system, catch them on their rotation. But even though Swimmer was taken incredibly low, the rest of the team had his back, and the Mercy stays alive, healthy Hale, and with Valkyrie in her back pocket for this very next fight.
Swimmer calls himself a Mercy main. We definitely see why at times the man will go for some reses that are questionable, but somehow gets them off almost every single time. It's like this magical shield goes on around him when he chooses to res. But Uprising Academy can choose whatever ultimate they want to use for this next couple pushes, and with 1 minute and 45 seconds left, Uprising Academy might have everything that they need to stall out Square One for the rest of the round. Square One just now coming up on those ultimates. Look how slow Dove and Hajade have been in developing these ultimates.
Yeah, and the most crucial key is Big Al's Genji Blade. Not going to be able to use it this time around, as Square One, 3 members getting EMP'd here. 1 kill already for Uprising Academy. They do need to make sure to finish off their plates, and indeed they do.
They're going to go ahead and take Jolt out after he uses Primal Rage, and this is that ultimate usage again. In losing fights, you want to hold on to those ultimates because you might bring yourself an opportunity for a higher percentage play coming up. Yes, you can be a hero. We've seen that happen with barrages and certain grabs, but you really want to go with the percentages.
Exactly, and now Square One are down one of their options. EMP into Blade is available, and Trisphere is actually going to likely have Nano to keep Big Al alive in the duration of his Blade anyways, but Uprising Academy is still with 3 ultimates, and Titawatt's Supercharger going to make Klaus's Dragon Strike even more deadly.
Supercharger goes through, he has to use the Dragon Blade, but the mini onto Big Al is going to take him down. The Dragon Strike just extra at this point in time to Storm, though. Not going to be enough. His hot take's going to be Nano, so he's going to be able to take Klaus down. And Square One all of a sudden coming back here, though. Trying to bring it back for Uprising Academy with the EMP Barrage combo, but the Barrage doesn't really land. Punk also is going to be hacked. Swimmer going to be pushed out because of that Winston, and Square One find themselves a potential point A take as Uprising Academy are unable to hold on to this defense, at least for the time being. Will they try to recontest? The answer is yes, trying to get a nice environmental kill. Scalar almost was able to do that, but he's going to be rebuffed immediately. Square One should have this in the bag.
A good hack from Dove there, just keeping Klaus from trying any of those Tracer shenanigans. Man, that is such a feels bad, but Big Al's like, I'll be the bait, guys. It's totally fine. All eyes on the Genji. That's when the Divas come into play, and Square One able to take Uprising Academy down slowly, piecemeal, but still in the nick of time. And now they have 3 minutes, 45 seconds to assault point B. And Uprising Academy going to be swapping up quite a few picks here. You're going to go on the Junkrat. He's actually rethinking it. Junkrat definitely very deadly against Genjis, but it is very impendent upon you getting that tire very quickly. So we're actually going to see the Torb look. Interesting.
Well, you're going to be able to take a little bit more of the environment away from a Square One, and during the cast of the Dragon Blade, you could get in some damage to butter him up enough and where someone can get that kill. We did just see the mini onto the Dragon Blade and Genji. That was really awesome to see. Hot Day going to be able to take the turret down. Nice sleep, though. Jolf still in this Primal Rage. Going to try to take Scalar, but he's going to make it back into spawn. No one's on the objective just yet for Square One, as he went on to this. Orisa could boost his team up with the Supercharger very soon, but Punk's going to go ahead and use the EMP to start things off. 4 members hacked. Square One will fall. Uprising Academy stabilized.
Like shooting fish in a barrel when all of those high mobility heroes have their abilities stripped away from them. And Square One right now seeming like they're trying to figure out again how to assault the Uprising Academy bunker. Blade, not that effective the last time around, and I hope that they just try and bum rush this Orisa, and indeed it looks like that's what they're going to do. Angelic still on this Lucio, and now Jolf on the Reinhardt with Big Al on the Bukita. So this is a great way to just dismantle the only tank that Uprising Academy has, take Titawatt down very quickly, and then everybody else will just be chickens sitting still for the pickings.
I'm intrigued as to why Uprising Academy is not running a Roadhog right now, so we can get Clockwork, but we're going to see that Supercharger come out. The Battle Bongo is making its music. Klaus has to get a little bit of health, has to move away from the fight, has to find himself some safety. They're just going to wait for the Supercharger to go away. Dove's going to go ahead and use that EMP, get spotted out right beforehand, but I like the way that he did that. A lot of these teams are just throwing translocators into the team and getting stunned out immediately. And Hot Take gets a nice eat, but they get stunned out immediately. We're seeing these EMPs get canceled more and more frequently, so I'd really rather them see them get into stealth, get themselves in position, EMP, and then translocate away to keep yourself safe, because these teams are getting better at spotting out these combos.
Absolutely, and Uprising Academy now trying the desperation game, and Punk has the Blizzard at the ready. Hot Day's not going to gobble up this ultimate, and all of this early progress from Uprising Academy is going to go the way of the dodo in all likelihood. Swimmer also on this Tracer now, just trying to help his team, pumping some damage, but no, Square One bringing this back from the brink.
I think what Uprising Academy needed to do there was try to bring the fight closer to the Molten and Core. There was a lot of members of Uprising Academy trying to push the advantage rather than letting Square One come onto the field and putting themselves in a weaker spot to be taken advantage of. Uprising Academy did not utilize that Tor Bolt, in my opinion, to the best of their ability. Round 1 complete. Square One, I like this up-tempo play we're seeing from them. They're definitely better with the Jolp on that Reinhardt and just whatever Goats kind of bumper lanes that they're running on their team, because I think this is a Goats team. They are very good at it. Unfortunately, Goats just isn't as strong in its current iteration in this meta. Uprising Academy, though, struggling to stop Square One there at the very end, but 48 seconds isn't a ton of time for Square One. Let's see what Uprising Academy can do on their push.
Once Square One did get into position, who was melted first once the EMP fell? But Titawatt. Very good target prioritization coming in from Square One. It looked like Hot Day might have actually just panic EMP'd once he got detected by the Torb, but it all worked out for Square One. And Uprising Academy, a team that when they're on a hot streak, look nigh unstoppable, but when they're scrambling to react to what Square One are throwing their way, they do make quite a few mistakes.
Yeah, I think Uprising Academy liking the dance a little bit too. It's been a little bit of, it's almost like a culture shock coming from this GOATS meta, moving into other things. You practice the same thing for over a year, right? And then all of a sudden it's different. It's going to take a little while to come back online. A really great example is covering those reses, right?
Yep. And it's not just about the heroes, but about the tempo and where those fights take place and what heroes find a lot of value, because a lot of times these DPS, you don't necessarily have to use ultimates in order to find value, and there's no guarantee of a big 6v6 fight. So Square One gonna hope that they'll never see that 6v6 with Dove on the Widowmaker looking to pick off heads before Uprising Academy even see the point.
This should be a much slower kind of push coming in from both teams, as the goal here is for your Widowmaker or Hanzo to find that kill. Punk could get it as well in the air and then push the point. It's all about finding that first advantage, and like you said, those ultimates might not matter as much because one shot, one kill on these Widowmakers can be more impactful, and we're seeing that happen right now. That's an invested res from Uprising Academy. That means all kills now coming from Square One are going to be permanent, and you're already seeing the impact that Widowmaker has in this game. There's not a ton of fighting going on. It's all just jostling for position, getting the right angles, and trying to hit those headshots.
Exactly. Shield break is also a big part of it. You see Tri-Spear on the Roadhog, not just good for those hook combos, but a big key in wearing Titawatt's shield down and stopping Uprising Academy's encroachment. As we see the repositioning going on, a little bit more of this dance as Dove goes to reposition. You generally don't want to stay in the same spot as a Widowmaker because Afara can easily two-shot you if she gets that drop with the concussive mine. So always moving is going to be the name of the game for Square One's defense.
As of right now, Square One doing this defense proud. This is exactly what you want to see in this situation. Square One with the Mei, with the Hog, it's going to be tough to break them down, but the problem with Square One's comp is if you don't run it perfectly, it'll break very easily, and if you get picked off, the rest of the team will fall as well. So Uprising Academy needs to find that pick. They're depending on Punk or Mirror to do just that. They're going to go ahead and use the infrared sights on Square One's side, so they have a little bit more information right now than Uprising Academy do.
Exactly. It's definitely going to help Hot Date, Dove, and Tri-Spear land those shots, not to mention Joel line up those hook or those halt pulls as Uprising Academy just banking up some ultimates. Now they're going to flush the bunker with the dragons.
And sometimes it's the only way you can do it, but it could have been a little bit more effective. You want to be more in control of when you press that Q, and they're forced to press it because they could not break through this bunker from Square One. A nice biotic grenade, though, coming from Scalar, trying to make it a little bit more interesting for Uprising Academy. Mirror already using those infrared sights as well. So Punk with the Rocket Barrage might be one of their only hopes here in the next minute and a half to try to get those picks going, because Dove has been a little bit better on this Widowmaker so far.
Certainly, but they have to deal with this tire first. Punk, those strikes, takes Hot Date right out. He was only 10% away from that blizzard, and the tire taken out as well. Now it's time for the Desperation Whole Hog, but it's no trouble for Punk. Raining down from above, and now Uprising Academy once more is just going to be a question of how quickly they can clean the point.
Still trying his best to delay this as long as possible, but nice displacement coming in from Punk. Flexing onto the fair. We don't see that very often. Ellie, though, is kind of the one that, at least in Contenders, before he left, I think he played 8 heroes before he got promoted to the Justice, and Farah was one of the ones that he gets the flex on along with the Mei, but it's nice to see that Punk has this look, and they're going to continue on with it going into the second point.
Yeah, this is a pretty risky, a pretty ballsy pick for Uprising Academy. Sure, Punk's 56% up to a barrage, but he is a sitting, or rather floating duck in these low ceilings for any number of those Square One heroes.
Halt hook hits the Farah. Uprising Academy will not be able to see the point this time around, as Hot Date's Blizzard is enough. Square One stabilized.
A good Titawa trying his best. He tried to halt Square One away from Klaus, who is frozen there, but sadly Klaus is going to respawn with the rest of his team as Square One stabilize. And now that they're living on point B, this is one of the difficulties of Paris, and love it or hate it, the reason is it's actually pretty distinct from all other map types. Very open, very difficult to assault despite so many alternate routes around that main point. So Square One, they're going to be likely setting up around this corner.
Titawa using that supercharger, what that does is just take space a lot of the time, as supercharger and rally have turned into just wait until it goes out for a lot of their opponents. Uprising Academy is going to go ahead and take that space that Square One has given them, but Joel's now going to use that supercharger. Nice placement behind the statue as well, keeping it nice and safe. That makes everybody more threatening on the team, especially since Uprising Academy do not have anyone else to follow up.
Yep.
Uprising Academy, though, using that Widowmaker to their advantage. Rez is now coming both sides, but we're going to find Angelic before the Rez can come through. This is a huge opening for Uprising Academy. Punkity Necto is going to make it a little harder, but with Swimmer gone, this is going to be Square One's fight to lose.
That's one way to cover a Rez. Just take the Mercy's head off. Unfortunately, though, Titawa's going to be the only member of Uprising Academy left, and that's 3 minutes left for Uprising Academy to make something happen. Oh, Klaus! Dove playing with his food there. You would...
Nice. Synergy.
Accidental synergy, yes, but you would think that doves were birds of peace, but Dove, way more bloodthirsty than you might expect. Uprising Academy, yes, I would say definitely this is the time to switch. You're not really seeing a ton of production from Klaus or Mirror. Really, those two DPS that you're counting on to find those 1-2 shot kills haven't been lighting up the playing field. I mean, haven't seen really Klaus on the kill feed besides that Dragon Strike, so they're just going to ghost this out.
Well, Square One doing a couple changes in response as well. Must have realized that they were taking a while to get to the objective and called out those swaps and are able to counter very well so far. As Uprising Academy, Klaus already at 44%, but is going to fall. Punk with the self-destruct kill. Titawa is going to be able to block Square One self-destruct, so he's not going to block himself away from spawn. Uprising Academy losing out once again. We're at the 2-minute warning for them.
Yeah, they got to make something happen soon. They should be trying to avoid Square One's bungling of ultimates, not throwing ultimates out with the bathwater, because they know now that bomb is off the table. Sometimes when it comes to these mirror matchups, it's just about banking up your own reserves while putting enough pressure on your opponents to draw out their ultimate. Uprising Academy close to that Earth Shatter. Joel already has it on hand, but more frighteningly, Dove will have grab, and Scalar has just swapped to Zenyatta. So likely going to be another lost fight for Uprising Academy as they build their economy.
Scalar needs Transcendence if they want to take this point, in my opinion. Swimmer going to get solo grabbed. Are they even going to be able to get the kill? Big Al does find Titawa, but doesn't find that Swimmer's a ton of resources were invested into him. Uprising Academy, though, going to be losing out anyway.
Yeah, but they have padded those ultimate banks, and Square One slowly but surely getting theirs depleted. Oh, nice stagger, though. This is really going to wear Uprising Academy down when they can't afford it. They got tons of ults, but they don't have any time.
Spear, though, going to have the Graviton Surge looking on the other side. Tri-Spear only at 70%, so there is a window of opportunity for Uprising Academy. Mirror needs to use this Graviton Surge before Tri-Spear gets to that Transcendence, which will happen very quickly. One successful volley, he's pretty much there. So Mirror and the rest of Uprising Academy need to play clean here. They gotta start things off by just ripping that cord and throwing that Graviton Surge, because it's still 20%, but Tri-Spear getting so close. Still no Graviton Surge coming from Uprising Academy, and Tri-Spear will have the Transcendence now. T-Walk gets a stun. Earthshatter goes Swimmer on the ground. Transcendence now has been popped from Scalar. Dove now could potentially have a non-counterable Graviton Surge. Angelic going to go ahead and use that sound barrier. Sound barrier going both ways right now. Uprising Academy fighting for their lives here on point B of Paris. Titawa going to find that first pick, but there's a return one from Hot Date with that self-destruct. It's a 5v5 here on the point. Overtime has commenced. Tri-Spear getting another pick for them. Dove also has Graviton Surge. There is no counter coming from Uprising Academy, so when Dove uses it, whoever gets locked in will perish, and that's exactly what we're going to see. It's now desperation mode for Uprising Academy. You can be as desperate as you want, but it's looking grim for them.
Yes, Swimmer trying his best to row his way to a stall, but gonna be rebuffed. Uprising Academy giving Assault away to Square One. We are tied up 1-1, folks.
given, we could argue that maybe they're giving it away, but I think Square One playing really good here on Paris. That fact that they are able to play a goats-ish type of comp against other goats-ish type of comps, right, is going to be much better for Square One. I think they struggle mightily against comps that aren't that standard goats v goats. And unfortunately, when Uprising Academy were running those comps, they weren't producing. They didn't take advantage of a potential Square One disadvantage.
Yeah, Square One definitely thriving when they can play goats, and you can tell how they get so much more value from every single one of their ultimates compared to Uprising Academy, who are like, grab out, nothing. Bomb out, nothing. Earth Shatter out, oh, I caught 3 people, nobody dies.
But that's improvement, right? Coming in from Nepal, it was the opposite story for Square One. We all remember that trans in the room that was forced out. And
I mean Uprising Academy. Did I say Square One?
Oh, but just in general, Square One already improving their ultimate usage from it today. So we saw that questionable trans in map 1, and not a ton of questionable ultimates in general on the second map for Square One. But this series is tied. Remember, Square One have already gone through 2 5-game sets in a row. This one kind of feels like it might be going that way, and we will find out in 6 minutes after the half. See you soon.